It's time for a great grand old segment here that we like to call Marvel in the 80s. And tonight we're talking about Captain America Annual number 8. That's right, y'all. This, of course, is written by Mark Gruenwald, with artwork by Mike Zeck, inking by John Beatty, with an assist by Joe Rubinstein. And this is Captain America versus Wolverine. It came out in September, I believe, of 1986. I was 5 years old. I was reading comics at this time. This was the year that I started reading comics, but I didn't read this one yet. In fact, I have always known of this iconic cover, but I had never, ever read this book. And I did not have this a physical copy of this, the individual issue, but it is, of course, the next part of my Wolverine omnibus, so we're going to talk about it. This was a really, really solid issue. I thought it was a great team-up, right? We can tell from that iconic cover by Mike Zeck, which is absolutely phenomenal and amazing. We are teasing Captain America versus Wolverine. And you get that a little bit physically, but you get it 100% mentally. So we start off with Wolverine at a bar, kicking it real, drinking, and there's a bar fight going on behind them because they think this dude is a mutant. Now, they don't think that Wolverine's a mutant. It's another guy. Turns out it's this guy named Nuclo or something like that. And Wolverine's just trying to enjoy his drink. Meanwhile, they're beating the shit out of this dude, but then he beats the shit out of them. He's the only one left, and he walks away. So Wolverine decides to go check on him, make sure he's all right because he thinks he recognizes him, puts on his suit, and I just want to point out that Mike Zeck, oh my goodness. Now, you can tell when Rubinstein takes over the inking in this book, and Zeck and Beatty work so well together. I love this. And the way that he draws Wolverine, it's one of my favorites. It reminds me, throws me back into Secret Wars. I love the way he draws those fins or whatever. He gives them a dimension that other artists don't necessarily do, and I really like it. And I love that very confident brushwork and ink work, I should say, from John Beatty. But anyway, Wolverine is going and following him, and dude's getting his ass kicked by this giant robot just randomly. Wolverine jumps in. Some great action scenes here. He's fighting this robot. What's going on? And he eventually, the robot just takes off and knocks Wolverine off of him. So Wolverine saves dude, Nuclo or whatever, but he's half beaten to death. The robot gets away, but there's a mysterious figure on a hoverboard there. Wolverine contemplates what's going on. Meanwhile, Captain America has been called to this parking lot outside of this burger joint where this hole is opened up and swallowed up two people. And this is from that Mark Gruenwald run of Captain America in the 80s, a very celebrated run with which I have not read every single thing from. I've only read little bits here and there. This is the run that we get Cap Wolf, but much later. Things like that. I almost said Bloodstone. It's the Bloodstone stuff, but it's Crossbones that get introduced into Bloodstone Hunt. I read stuff like that. So Mark Gruenwald's doing this great thing with Captain America, kind of going across the country, just helping out the average person. So he goes down into this sinkhole that opened up to try to investigate what happened. And there's this whole Temple of Doom type thing in there where it's a World War II era gauntlet of traps, right? And he finds the dudes. They fell into the first trap, ignited some gas, and almost killed them, but we find out that they are alive because this is a Marvel comic in the 80s, so we can't get too hardcore, right? So Cap tells them, look, I'm going to go explore more. He finds more and more of these gauntlet-type things, right? These traps, including these spikes. Luckily, he's got his shield, including a room filled with guns. It's going to blow him away. This is how he knows it's World War II era, because the guns are from World War II. And one of my favorite bits in this comic is he just sits there and waits until the bullets run out, until he pops his head out, goes to the other room, and there was something there, but it's been recently disturbed. He goes back up, says, close this off. I'm going to go find out more information. We're starting to piece this together. Meanwhile, we got this trucker. This trucker is going around. His truck just stops. He comes across this dude named the Overrider. So this dude has a ability to override electronics. So he shuts off this dude's truck and basically says, you're going to help me and break into this place, and I'll give you power back. And the robot, of course, he's the dude with the robot. The robot gets in the back of the truck, and they got a plan to go to this, like, I don't even remember where they're going, but it's like a nuclear facility or something like that, right? Meanwhile, Wolverine takes this busted ass up mutant who's gotten his ass kicked by a whole bar, and then this robot takes him to the hospital, decides to leave, hunt down this robot, see what's going on. Meanwhile, Captain America is on the mysterious trail of what is this crazy ass World War II era bunker with all these, traps and weapons in it. What's up with that? So he rides his bike to his van and he chills out there. He's trying to find out some more information. Meanwhile, this trucker who's been taken hostage by the Overrider and this robot, they go to this facility. Oh, that's right. They're going to a place where they do metal work. That's what it is. First, they go to the metalwork place. Then they go to the nuclear place. So they go in, smash up, and basically he's there to make these dudes coat this robot in adamantium. That's okay. That seems pretty overhard, but hell yeah, if you got some nefarious plans, that's what you do, right? So Captain America, he's doing his thing. He's finding out more information about things to check out, and he winds up going to this same metal place because he gets it's this dude shows up. He's got this whole radio network, CB radio network, and someone's like, yo, the trucker like gets on there. And he's like, hey man, these people are at this metal place and they're going crazy. Wolverine has followed them there. Wolverine has broken in. Captain America has broken in. They confront each other. This is not their first meeting. I don't know what their first meeting actually is. Is it Secret War? Now, I know that Secret War is around the same time. They met there. So Cap knows who Wolverine is, but initially he tries to be like, yo, let's work out. What are you doing? Because at this time, Magneto is the leader of the X-Men, and Captain America's not cool with that, so Wolverine just like slashes at him, and that's the image right there at the bottom of the page. That's the image that is rendered gloriously for the cover. So they just tussle for a little bit, then the robot comes through. Now the robot has an adamantium shell, so now they have to team up. So it's the briefest of fights, but they have this like back and forth in ideology throughout. Let's just say that, right? So they're fighting this robot, and Overrider shows up. Some really great artwork here, some really solid stuff. Basically, the robot and Overrider get away. Wolverine and Captain America are going to reconvene, meet up, work together, but first they're going to go hunt down their own leads. I love that handshake moment right there, but Wolverine's got a big chip on his shoulder right here, and also Cap's a little bit of a dad. You know what I'm saying? So then we get the backstory of Overrider. Turns out his son has nuclear psychosis. When he explained he's a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who has the mutant ability to shut down electronics, right? And he was an ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and his kid asked him one day about nuclear weapons and the button and all that stuff. He told him, and he went into this catatonic state, freaking out about the end of the world. So now he is devising this plan to take this robot and disarm the world forcefully, right? Captain America's finding out about this bunker underneath. He's using his computers, finds out that it was a bunker designed. This robot was designed to be kind of a safety net for the super soldier program. So if the super soldiers came back from the war and decided to run their own shit and take over the country, these robots were going to kill them. That's why the robot is specifically altered to hunt down Steve Rogers, who was the only successful super soldier from that program. So that ties into his past. Wolverine uses the computers over at the X-Mansion to find out that there is a mutant who has this power. He connects the two. They both wind up going after the same people. Meanwhile, this guy, the Overrider, has his plan to go to this nuclear facility, and he wants to basically launch all of the nukes in the world to the bottom of the ocean, let them sit there, and if anybody ever messes with him, he'll just blow them up. And he wants to disarm the world so that his son can live in a world safe from nuclear annihilation and come out of his catatonic state. But Wolverine and Captain America know that they got to stop this dude. And so they go in and they have a big fight. They have a big battle. They have to work together. And even though Wolverine doesn't like taking orders from Cap, they do eventually put aside their differences, work together. Cap starts recognizing Wolverine's amazing ability as a fighter, his amazing ability as even developing strategy. So you got some really cool artwork. I think we're in the sections now where Joe Rubinstein is taking over the artwork, and you can tell. And they have to work together. There's a really great moment where basically Wolvie's plan is to decapitate this robot. That's the only thing that's going to happen because the joints aren't coated with adamantium. So he puts his claws in, but he can't get them far enough. Cap has to keep bashing his shield into Wolverine's hands, injuring those hands, but eventually decapitating the monster. Then Overrider comes in, and they easily incapacitate him. Cap throws his shield, knocks him off of his hover glider. He says, "Wolverine, catch him." But Wolverine's contemplating actually letting him fall into his claws. And then at the last minute decides, I won't. I'm not going to kill him with my claws, but I ain't going to fucking catch this asshole because of all the shit he just put us through. Plus, he's responsible for beating a mutant to near death. So then Cap's like, bro, you let him fall. He's like, but he ain't dead. He'd be dead if he fell in my claws. And they have this whole fucking moment. And Cap's all like, look, man, we work together, but it's kind of like this, like, father-son type thing, right? And it's very interesting. And Wolvie's like, oh, shove off. And then he goes and visits Nuklon or whatever in the hospital. A fantastic issue. I thought it was great. Annuals used to matter. This wasn't necessarily something connected to the overall story, but it fit in that overall story. It even fits in this omnibus as the ongoing tale of solo Wolverine, teaming up with other people, meeting Captain America, having a little bit of a tussle, a little bit of a mental tussle as well, but eventually working together to solve the crime, to save the day, and still end on the outskirts. I love this book. I think overall I'd give it 4.5, you digs. A little bit more consistency in the artwork if Beatty was able to handle it, but obviously Mike Zeck is known for being a little bit late. That is why they had to bring Rubinstein in, if I had to guess. But overall, I really like this book. Thought it was super solid. So, I don't have the original issue. It is one I'd like to get, but it is smack dab in the middle of my Wolverine Omnibus Volume 1. We've been going through this. There it is right here. Really like the printing on here. Now, you're not going to get that newsprint kind of sheen, so the colors, you know, you may think they're a little, but the colors still work for me. And it really works printed on this larger size. I have never been the biggest omnibus guy, but I am really into them now because it's a good way to be like, you know what? Instead of having to hunt down each and every single one of these issues, because I'm a big Wolverine fan, I just buy this and I'm good. And they got a volume 2, and I think there's a volume 3 on the way. And this volume ends into the ongoing series. There's that moment right there. But it works. It works well. I'd like to have this issue, though, the original one. I'd really like to get a hold of that because seeing that on newsprint would be cool. And I know that that book's a little bit more pricey because it's a popular cover, but it is something I want to get into. This omnibus has been amazing. It's Wolverine stories in chronological order. Starts with Weapon X, goes into Hulk 180, 181, 182. Prints that whole thing. We've been covering all of it. I love this issue. Next up in that omnibus is Spider-Man vs. Wolverine. That is one that I do have physically. It doesn't have the Web of Spider-Man kind of sequel to Spider-Man vs. Wolverine, which I have that too. I have my original copy from when I was a kid, so hopefully by next time we do a Wolverine bit here on Wolverine in the 80s, I will have found those issues so I could actually show those off too. But I don't have the original one. It's on the wish list. I wanted Captain America Annual number 8. Hardcore. Love the book. 4.5. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about Captain America Annual number 8? Just an iconic cover or an iconic comic? I think it's both. What do you think? And this has been Marvel in the 80s.